21-year-old me really thought I knew it all. But at 31, 10 years later, here today, I sit in front of you telling you guys I was completely wrong. There were many things I didn't know. And at 31 years old, I'm going to go through some of the most important principles that have taught me what I know today and have enabled me to start 4 businesses, all making more than £10,000 a month. I remember sitting down with one of my best friend's brother and telling him about how I wanted to start a company. I wanted to start a recruitment company at the age of 21, and I was discussing it with him. He was 25, working in a top banking firm. I thought he knew it all, and to be fair, if he's watching this, look, you still know it all. But I remember sitting with him and him totally advising me against starting my own company, telling me I don't have enough information, I don't have enough knowledge, I need so much more, and starting a business isn't always the best thing to do. But what's interesting is he had never started a business. He wasn't running a business. And I chose to listen to his advice at the age of 21 years old. And so number one, it's very important that you are careful in the decisions you take, you're careful with the advice you take, and more importantly, the actions you end up taking after the advice is given to you. That's crucial. It's fine for everyone to give you advice, but I might not take your advice if you give it. I just might listen to it and see if it is relevant. And that's important. A lot of the times we end up taking everyone's advice. If you take everyone's advice, you're going to be like everyone. And most people today aren't doing that well. Most people today aren't that successful. Have you ever heard of the story of the rabbit and the turtle? I'm sure many of you guys have. And let me explain something. And I don't want to sound cliche, but going at 10 miles per hour is better than going at 100 miles per hour. This will resonate with you. How many times have you started something or done something and done it at the best you possibly can? You've gone all out for a day, 2 days, a week, maybe even a month. That's very rare. But how many times have you stopped after that month? Often. And so a lot of people want to go at 100 miles per hour straight away for a short time, but not many people are willing to do 10 miles per hour over 3 years. You see, going at 10 miles per hour over 2 or 3 years is huge. And that's the difference between someone who will end up being successful and someone who won't. Because how many of us today just want quick money? We want overnight success. And those people that want overnight success 5 years later are still trying to get overnight success. And unfortunately, how many people today will look at someone and say they're doing well or he is doing well. Let me see if I can do the same thing. Number 3, do what you're good at, not what others are good at. See, me, I'm good at sales. I'm good at building relationships. I'm good at speaking. And so I will do something which will be good with my skill set. Another person might be really good at numbers. Someone else might just be amazing at design. I'm terrible at design. Don't try to just copy someone else because they're making money or they have made something of success. If it works with your skills, if it aligns with what you are good at, then do it. But don't just copy the next guy sitting next to you and want to do the same business model as them or the same thing that they are doing just because they're seeing some success, some flexibility. You know, they're doing all right. You have to be your own man. You have to understand what you're good at. So I guess you have to reflect and understand what are the key points. What are the points where you are going to be better than everyone else? Enhance that skill and then monetize it. In my second year of business, I learned 2 things. Number 1, don't chase the business, chase the money. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of us, when we're starting business and trying to do something, we want the perfect website, we want the perfect leaflets, the business cards, the logo, the design, and all of this stuff, but that never really makes us the money. I mean, what actually makes us the money is understanding who has your money. And so if you today are starting a business, like I have a recruitment company and I started my recruitment company at the age of 25, alhamdulillah, after 6 months, we were making £20,000 every single month. The only way I was able to do that is understanding who had my money and which client I needed to go after and what I needed to do for that client, for them to pay me and for me to get the money. How was I going to shorten the gap between myself and, in essence, getting the money? Making a website might be great, might make you look great, but it's not actually going to make you money. So make sure what is going to make you money, focus on that, especially in the beginning, because you don't have that much funds to just give around unless you've got a big investment. Most people don't have a lot of money to just give out. So make sure you understand who has your money, how you can go knocking on that door, and make sure you try as fast as possible to shorten the gap of getting the money to yourself and your bank account. And the second thing was saying no is better than saying yes. Sounds crazy, I know, but saying no sometimes is much better than you saying yes. How many clients will tell you, do this for me and do that for me and do this for me, and you end up saying yes, 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 yes. And guess what? 2 weeks or 2 months down the line, you've got so much business on that you're thinking you don't have any more time to deal with the business. You see, if you said no at the time you should have said no, you would have got a client, or you potentially could have got a client who was actually willing to pay you more, and it would have been easier for you to get the money to yourself. It would have been less hassle, less obstacles. And therefore, when you are trying to do business, you need to understand what are the obstacles, what are the issues, and if something is looking flaky, if it is where the business you know is going to be a hard graft, it's better to say no. Because if you say no and you don't have someone else right now, you aim and focus on that time to get someone else, another client. And if that client is a business where you can make money a lot quicker, less obstacles, less issues, you focus on that client who could be someone with you for the long term, 3, 4, 5 years. And imagine you stuck with that one client where it was going to be a lot of obstacles, a lot of time consumption. You know, you would have had to bend your back a lot. You might end up getting a client which actually is a lot easier to deal with. So if you're facing issues with a client, if there are a lot of problems, if you're facing obstacles, sometimes it's fine to say no, drop the client and go after someone else. And whatever business model that might well be in, sometimes it's just better to say no. At 21, I bought myself an E-Class, and you know where this is going. I spent a lot of money in it. But I learned an important principle at that point. Having £20,000 in your bank account, it's better than having a £20,000 car. Honestly, I could go sleep very well knowing that all my bills, all my debts and everything will be covered if I've got 20 grand in my bank account. But if I've got a 20 grand car, the only people that are going to be happy are maybe a couple of sisters and maybe the brothers. But the point being is £20,000 in your bank account, it helps you sleep better at night. And so if you're thinking about getting a flashy car before you've got the money in your bank account, trust me when I say this, keep the money in your bank account. It's going to make you a lot happier. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you ever find yourself getting upset at someone who doesn't have a house? Would you ever get upset at someone who can't afford a car, even if it's a small car? Would you find yourself getting upset at someone who lives in a third world country and can't have hot water? Let me make a point here. You would not get upset at someone who can't have these things, but because you have more than them. The likelihood is you're watching this and you have more than them, and you're not going to hate on someone who has less than you. It doesn't matter about people's opinion because people always end up hating on the person who has more than them. And that's just the reality of life. How many people will you hate on that have less than you? But how many people will, you feel a little bit uncomfortable by because maybe they have more than you? So it doesn't matter what people's opinions are of you, of your business, of anything you do. Because if you try keeping everyone happy, no one's going to end up paying your bills. No one's going to look after your businesses and nothing's really going to ever happen. So stop worrying about people's opinion because they're not paying your bills. Now, please really take this in. And this is probably one of the most important principles that I've mentioned to you today. And that is stick to your values. I'm a Muslim. I cannot lie. I cannot cheat. I cannot go into certain businesses. I would never do that. It goes against my values. No matter how much money I make today, no matter how much money I make tomorrow, as soon as I go against my values, business just isn't fun anymore. No matter how much money is on the table, no matter what is in front of you, because when you go home, when you are a year or 2 years down the line or 10 years down the line, when you have all the money you need, you'll regret not sticking to your values. 65-year-old you looking at your children, knowing that maybe you've got 5, 10, 15 years, you'll regret it. You will regret giving up all your values for money. So don't ever do that. And I have to be honest, in the last 10 years, from 21 to 31, we faced a lot of obstacles. I mean, COVID happened. And that's a big obstacle. That doesn't happen all the time, does it? I learned something. And there's always a way. There is always a way. You just have to pivot in different ways. You might have to do something different. You just have to make things happen. And there is always a way. Maybe it's doing more output. Maybe it's doing more marketing. Maybe it's asking more questions, knocking on more doors. Maybe it's reducing your prices. Whatever it is, take 10 steps back. There is always a way to work out what the problem is and how there can be a solution. You know, I mentioned this before, but 6 months in, when I was making £20,000 a month, which was a huge amount, and it was something I had never made before. And I say this lightly now, unfortunately, but at the time it was huge. So huge, I was scared actually. I remember it specifically. I had a lot of money in my bank account all of a sudden. I had never seen this much money in my bank account. I was making more money the month after, and I was like, what am I going to do with so much money? And I think it's very important to celebrate your success. Like, you forget when you hit a certain milestone, it's like, oh, I make 20K a month. Now I want to make 50K a month, and now I'm going to make 75, and now 100K. It's important to just take a step back, celebrate your success, and look back at how much you've achieved and what you've done. And if today all you have done is set up a company, that's an achievement, because 6 months before, maybe you thought you could never have set up a company or a business. And so today, when you've set up a business, it's like, wow, you're a company owner, you're a director of a company. Celebrate that, and really celebrate when you have achievements. And so take it in, enjoy the process, and success will come, inshallah.